So I'm back at the garage for another episode and another day of doing some electrical. Now, last week I decided to come in and not record anything because there were a few just little electrical connections and messing around and stuff like that it wasn't going to be very exciting to record. But what I did manage to accomplish was got the light switch all hooked up, and then I ended up doing a bunch of wiring underneath the dashboard. But today there's all sorts of stuff to do. So my list is long, and I'm going to start at the back of the car, and then I'm going to work my way to the front. So what I want to do back here is we've got this bumperette to reinstall. Plus, I went and picked up the license plate bracket with the light and stuff like that on it to attach there. But I also want to put some kind of spotlights at the back. So one of the issues that I always used to run into with our Suburban that we have is that when it was the middle of the night or it was dark out or something like that and we're trying to back up and see something, like hooking up to a trailer or whatnot, I could never see anything at all. So I'm just trying to figure out how I want to mount these guys. Do I want to mount something here like this? Do I want to mount them doubles, which might look kind of cool because I've got 4 of them? Do I want to mount them underneath here like this? Once I'm done that, then I'm on to installing some gauges into that center section of the instrument panel there. So I got us a nice cool clock. Got this really cool gas saver gauge that Tim found. And the temperature gauge is around here somewhere. Oh, it's on the other side of the car. So I'm gonna have to grab it and have a look and get that figured out as well. So here's what I got. Pretty basic, straightforward system. Hopefully it'll bolt right on. I do think that these holes are maybe a little too close together. Here's the light that's supposed to bolt right on there, I guess. I was able to take this bracket off, knock out the bolts that were in before, which were kind of like a weird rivety bolt thing, and lo and behold, this guy just lines right up. So I'll be able to just reattach with some new bolts and be all set, and I didn't have to use that other bracket, and this will be nice and tucked away. I think that'll look super good. So I'm gonna get that done, and then I'm gonna work on cleaning up these guys here so that I can mount this permanently and then get working on those rear lights, because I'm gonna have to make a bracket for those as well. So this light is a little bit longer than what the old light was, which means I can't get my holes lined up properly. This is the easiest way to connect things up. I think I'll go over and take a look at the bumper again and see what that looks like, but I think probably what I'll do is I'll just zip this off and then just move it back and weld it on, and then that, I mean, we're talking fractions of an inch, so I don't really have to go back very far, and then everything remains nice and tucked up, and I don't have to worry about things sitting too low on that bumper, because, let's see here, we could attach here, but it's gonna kind of stick down too low here, at least, especially with the trailer and stuff. So this way, yeah, that's the way I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go that other route. So I'll cut that up and I will re-weld. So there we go. A few modifications, just knocking this guy back here, bolted it back up. We've got our light in there, little wire loop hanging out there. So now, let's head back on over to the back of the car. So there we go, on. So with these lights, I tried to bolt them up and it just wasn't happening. The area, like where I actually chose to put it on, which is right there, by the time I drilled a hole in the side, I couldn't get anything lined up at the back. It was too close to this big bracket here and I wasn't trying to drill through that. So I just welded that bracket on, and I don't think that's gonna go anywhere. So I'll set the camera up and I'm just gonna do it over on the other side here. All set up, not tight, but looking good. And they're out of the way of where the hitch is gonna go, and so there's no chance of the trailer smashing into them and busting them to pieces. After talking to Tim about the lights, I decided, with his advice, that it would just be way too much overkill to put 4 of them there. So now we're on to the exciting side of things today, something I've been looking forward to in a while, and that is installing the proper gauges into my little homemade dashboard piece here. So what we've got, this really cool gas saver gauge is activated by a vacuum. You don't see too many of them around, if ever really. Temperature gauge and Monsieur Clock. I don't know if these brackets are gonna fit because of the way that I engineered things here, but we'll see what I can figure out. So they're all gonna need some cutting done. And there we go, all back together. Now, I did run into a little problem here. I cut this way too short because I wasn't really paying attention, so I had to re-weld it. It's still not as long as it should be, but whatever. Please ignore my questionable welds here, but it will do the trick and nobody's gonna see them. So now it's just a matter of getting it back in the car. I'm gonna find a light thing for this back of this one here. And there we go, we're in. Look at that. I had to put this little button here to set the clock. Now what I'm going to do is get back to some wiring that I was working on the other day. So one thing I've been toying with the idea of installing is a distribution block. I found in the past one of the greatest sources or causes of a spaghetti mess for accessories is not having something like this. You just keep splicing and splicing into wires, overloading circuits and all that other sort of stuff and making a general mess of things, and it's very hard to keep stuff tidy. Now the one thing that's really nice about this kit is that it does have, I believe it's this pink wire here. Maybe is it this? No, it's this orange guy. That's what it is. It's a slightly thicker gauge, I think. Yeah, accessory power. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just mount it up in there with a couple self-tappers, and then that way I can do stuff like run the power for the lights off of my switches here. That'll make things really easy. And then there was a couple of other accessories that we were going to deal with too. And there we are. Everything is all hooked up, looking nice. Even got my cable already there, so we've got some power. So whenever I'm ready to run some accessories over there, which will be the next time I'm into the shop, it's all set up. So dome light, that's important. Got to get that in there so we can actually see if we need to look around inside at night. These crazy guys here, I couldn't resist this. They're relatively cheap. I'm going to put them under the dashboard, so if we need to get under and have a look, if something should go wrong when it's dark, we're not rooting around looking with the lights on our phones. I've also got some bulbs to go into the gauges that are a lot brighter than what we had in there. And I've got this. Oh. Now, one of the things we decided to do is we're not going to put a stereo in. We're just going to use like a portable Bluetooth speaker. So I figured one of the better ideas would be to get a new cigarette lighter adapter and USB charger plugs. Got them in. There's a little bit of messing around. Not a huge deal though. The only thing that I didn't realize, one was that I had put this a little bit too close to the hinge behind for the glove box, so that was causing a bit of a problem. But the other issue that I'm running into is that the bottom of the glove box hits the little rubber pieces right here when I open it. So I don't want to move it because I really can't move it anywhere else where it's going to work. So I may just notch here a little bit, and then hopefully it's not that noticeable. I don't know how much we'll use the glove box, and like realistically there's nothing even in there right now, but it would be nice to put it back just to have some storage space and whatnot. So once everything else is done, then I'll start maybe paying more attention to that. But now what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to dive back underneath, throw on a little time warp, and I'm going to start wiring stuff up that needs to be dealt with. I'm thinking what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the distribution block for the grounds over here, and then I'll just run everything that way, and it'll keep things a lot tidier. And then I'm not running from the back of here over to the wall where there's going to be a bunch of wires hanging down. I want to try to keep it tight as I can behind the dashboard. So hopefully that will work out. So next up, I want to get this out and run so that I can connect up the switch for the lights that go under the dash. So I managed to get this wire pulled through, got some wiring done into the distribution block down there. I've got the dome light and everything hooked up to this here, so once there's power there, that should work. Back for some more wiring. Today, I want to just get most of this tied up. I know that I can't get it completely finished because we've got to get the engine in and a couple other things figured out before I can actually claim that it's done. But right now, I'm going to get as much as I possibly can taken care of so that I can move on to the next phase, which is going to be pretty exciting. I've run the wire for the dome light. Now I still don't have our dome light in there, but I'm going to make a bracket for it today. The other thing that I'm not happy about is my switch and choice of what I'm going to use for these inline fuses. Nothing at all to actually do with the stuff itself, but basically to do with the fact that I don't like how it's wired in the back and I don't trust my soldering. So what I've done is change things around a little bit. Got myself a nice little fuse block here where I'm going to run all my circuits off of that are going to my switches. I've also got a few more extra switches to put in. So really, what I've got to start doing now is pulling out some of the stuff, and then I'm going to start installing my other pieces, get my light out so I can see underneath here, and figure out exactly where I want to mount that fuse distribution block. Okay, so I've got everything here done. I've got one hole left. I think I'm going to put a light in there. I just need to drill this hole out a little bit more. But the thing that I like about this better than the way that I had it set up before is I've got my switches on the back here. Now before I had the fuses in here and there was a lot of wiring running back and forth, what I'm going to do now though is I'll use this fuse block to run a fused line between here and the power. So I'm going to get this installed back again. I'm going to get this guy mounted up. Okay, so there, I've got ourselves set up. It was kind of funny how this turned out. I had to put a plate over here because of the hole that's in the inner fender. I did have this attached to this, but it was too close together. My wires would have been super short, and instead of making another panel and all that sort of stuff, I saw that there was a nice flat space to bolt that to. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to bring this out a little bit. I just don't have long enough screws at the moment. But right now what you guys get to do is you get to watch me deal with a boo-boo that I made. So what ended up happening was I've got some wiring here. As you saw in an earlier video when I fed all of this through. Now I have hooked up the lights at the back here, but I didn't run an auxiliary wire when I was running everything to the back. So now what I've got to try to do is get this wire through here. I've been trying and it has been a pain. So what I'd like to do is get that done so I can get it hooked up and then get everything run over to the switch panel. So there, I got it through with the help of some TIG rod. I fought with that all last weekend. There seemed to be a spot where it actually bunched up in here and it wouldn't keep going. So now I've got it through thanks to that. Let's run through our nice conduit here and then I can get it run through into the back. Finally wired all in. That was a pain. There's nothing worse than working over top of your head in such a confined space. I do not recommend it to anyone. Also finished up some wiring down here. Got my grounds connected up over here. So we're well on our way. There's really not that much exciting stuff left to do in here as far as wiring goes. I've got this connector left, which is controls for my steering column. But otherwise, that's pretty much it. Also, happy to see that I've got my red wire here, like I showed earlier, for the additional backup lights. And otherwise, that's it. I know that electrical isn't that exciting. Tried to keep it as short and hopefully can edit it to be as entertaining as possible. The next episode is going to be pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to it for sure. So make sure to like and subscribe and make sure to tune in because you'll be impressed with what's coming up next. Thanks for watching, folks.